700 police in riot gear descended on Claremont Road in Leighton, part of a huge security operation to evict up to 300 protesters. This time it could take days to remove the demonstrators who've been digging in to prevent the demolition of 40 houses in the path of the new road. Well, our reporter Jonathan Beale is at the scene now. Jonathan.
Well, the battle for Claremont Road continues tonight, with hundreds of protesters still barricaded inside the buildings. The cranes have moved in, as have the bulldozers, but they say they're determined to stay. And this could be the last significant stand of the fight against the M11 link road. The confrontation was noisy but short-lived. Up to 700 police officers dressed in riot gear arrived at Claremont Road for what could be the final battle in the fight to stop the M11 link road.
Let's start going out that way, please. No, that way.
Protesters on the road were the first to be removed, followed quickly by our cameraman, and slowly but surely everyone else was forced to go. Though it was largely peaceful and there was no arrests, residents and protesters were angry.
There are police absolutely everywhere in riot gear. Can you believe it? This is a non-violent protest.
No, I'm not very happy about this at all. And I think you'll find there's a lot of people, local people here today who are very angry about this.
As protesters continue to be removed by bailiffs and police, those inside the buildings in Claremont Road have barricaded themselves in. Towering above the skyline, scaffolding has been erected to slow the contractors down. Underground, some lay in tunnels covered with rubble. With food supplies for a number of days, they hope to defy the efforts of police and bailiffs.
There have been no arrests. It has been essentially a peaceful operation and no injuries. And that is one factor that I'm particularly pleased about, and one that we want to bear in mind for the whole operation, that no one on any side, if there are sides, is hurt at all.
It's impossible to say how long it will take, simply because my officers don't know yet what they will be confronted with.
The police have now blocked off all streets leading into Claremont Road. Journalists and observers have been prevented from going anywhere near the demolition site.
What is now worrying is the fact that no one's being allowed near the houses that are occupied, and that includes legal observers and members of the press, and that obviously is a cause for concern.
We've got to move people out from the immediate street for safety reasons, because there's likely to be either masonry or objects down. Certainly one of the sheriff's officers has already been hit by flying paint.
With many protesters still inside the buildings, both sides are prepared tonight for a long war of attrition. It could take days before all are removed, and the bulldozers finally move in to clear Claremont Road.
Well, Jonathan, the police now have new powers under the Criminal Justice Act. Can they actually use them?
Well, you're right, Gwennon, they do have the power of arresting people for aggravated trespass under that act, but police have told us that they will not be using those powers, and they've reassured the protesters too that that won't happen. So it seems unlikely that they will be using the Criminal Justice Act in this particular protest.
Now, we saw that the cameras were moved on very quickly today. Do you know why that was?
Well, we were told by police that was for the protesters' safety, for the journalists' safety, and for observers' safety as well. I should add that we have heard that in the last hour, one woman has been injured, a protester has been injured. She was on some netting above the building, and we believe she fell, but we don't know how serious those injuries are yet.
Do you have any idea of how long this protest is going to last?
It's going to be a matter of days. The protesters have food inside those houses, and they're going to hold out for as long as possible. The police too believe it could be a matter of days, and they're going to be here all night, certainly tomorrow as well. So it's going to be a long sit-in. But the important thing about this protest is very symbolic, that Claremont Road now has been occupied for over a year, and the protesters see this as a very important stand. So if they're kicked out of here, there are very few places for them to go on the route of the M11 link road to stop the road going ahead.
Briefly, Jonathan, once the protest is over, is that going to be the end to the matter?
Well, it's not going to be the end to the matter. I've been speaking to protesters today. They say that it would be a sad loss to lose Claremont Road because they've made it such an objective. But there are a few other houses they can occupy, but really this is the last significant stand.
Jonathan, thanks very much indeed.